Welcome all as we congregate to the greatest toy line in community, ever growing, ever changing. As we collect and adapt these figures to our own imaginations and embrace the fun, there's much to learn, especially if you're new to Mythics. Hey, welcome everybody to a new episode 49 with my man Vernon Gibbs, the man, the myth. I thought you were a myth, dude. I've been trying to corral you, trying to get you on this show, man.
No, I'm all over the place. You know, it's hard to nail me down, but I'm glad I could be here.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's not easy to carve out even an hour. Sometimes it's difficult. So I appreciate you taking the time, man, and I'm grateful that you're here, man. How you doing?
I'm good, just taking it a day at a time. The office is busy shipping stuff out, and getting ready for conventions and everything. So, I'm glad for the work, and I'm glad to, be able to talk to you about what's going on.
Right. Now, how long? Okay, so people that don't know, people that are new to Mythic,
yeah,
Vernon is a employee of the studio, Four Horsemen Studios.
Yeah.
Is there a busy time, or have you noticed like it just has gotten busy and hasn't got like the pedal has been pushed down and hasn't, or is there like a slower time where you're like, okay, okay,
you can breathe? You know what I mean? The lead up to Legion's Con is always super busy because we have to ship stuff to the get stuff to the event space. We have to finish the prototypes for the reveals, and there's just a lot going on. So that's probably the busiest time leading up to that, organizing where the people are sitting. Jeremy does a lot of that as far as where the vendors are going to be and everything, but it's just a lot getting the statues ready. So that's kind of the busiest time, that summer. And we're also going to conventions leading up to that. So it's not like Legion's Con is the only one we have. During the rest of the year, it really just depends. Like right now, we're super busy. We're, in the middle of doing some Necronominus shipping, and then we have in-stock sales, and then we'll have something else come up. So every time you have, you get Armory that was on sale, and now that the store is kind of the online store is open all the time, we always have orders that we're shipping out. People go to the store. Oh, you know what? I want to pick up this figure. I never thought about getting it. So then all of a sudden you have a bunch of orders that come in, or someone does a custom. And someone's like, oh, wait a minute, that's a great custom.
Yeah.
Got to get that figure. Hey, let me get a Hagnon because someone did this with it because a new figure came out. So it's always kind of up and down as far as the busy time. But because we're constantly dropping figures and having new stuff come in, it's nice because, it's more consistent than it was in the past where it was kind of more spread out. So it stays busy.
Absolutely. I have noticed, too, that you've got a new job as like the voice of these videos that Brad is doing, Brad Treadaway.
Yes.
Doing these amazing product videos of these figures and for the last 2 or 3?
The last 2 or 3. I did Necronominus, Bluelith, mostly bad guy characters, but I also wanted to do the good guys. I didn't want to just be like a bad voice.
Like, so, don't typecast me. I want to do the good guys.
Exactly.
Too.
I want to be a little bit diversified,
It'd
and
be
then Greg did his, which was great. I thought he did a great job on his. And that really just came, kind of very organically. The great thing about the Horsemen is that it's a small company that's doing big things, but they're really open to letting people, try things out. So Brad was already kind of working on these videos, and he dropped one. I can't remember what the first one that didn't have a voice with it.
I think it was Necro, wasn't it? Or no?
Well, there was a video before that didn't have a voiceover, and I was like, you know what? If you're gonna keep doing these, it'd be great to have a voice because I think people who are new to Mythics don't like see the character, but they don't know who he is. So if you could have someone read the text that's from the toys directly, oh, Sir Gideon is this, and I was like, if you ever want to do that, let me know. I'll be willing to do a voiceover. And he was like, you know what? And that's how it started. That was.
And they're like, hold on, Vern, hold on. They're like, let's hear your sexy voice. And you're like, okay.
I'm like, well, since you asked, So I was like, I would read it.
Bring the lights down here, guys.
Yeah. So exactly. So it just came like that way, and we do recording a bunch of videos and then kind of release them as is needed. and Jeremy kind of handles the marketing and the releasing of those, and it's in between other stuff that's coming out, right? So it's like you have Necronomicon, but then you're also talking about the Atlanta figure, and you're also talking about this and that. So it just kind of works with how we're, you know, letting people know and getting people hyped about the toys that are coming out. Absolutely. And that's just how that. Yeah, I've been there 3 years. It's 3 years in beginning of this month. So I think February 5th of 2022 was like my very first time working there.
That's about when I jumped on as a fan, was right around that time.
Yeah, I was, and there's a funny story. Again, it was, I knew Joe Vassapolo, him and I would be in line at Toy Con and different things, just kind of getting ready before he started working there full time, just online talking, you know, about the toys. We were always kind of there at the same time. And after a while, I would just let the guys at the table, the Horseman table, know, so, you know, I love your toys. I've been following you since the first Kickstarter. I've been following you since you were with Mattel doing classics.
Right.
I'm a stay-at-home dad. My hours are pretty flexible, besides getting the kids and doing other things. If you ever need help, just let me know. And they said, great. And that was kind of how I left it. I never really pushed it beyond that. And then one day I got a call from Chris saying, hey, Joe told me that you mentioned some interest. At that point, I think Joe had started working there full time. Yeah, you have some interest in helping us out. I was like, yeah, whatever you need, shipping, marketing, whatever it is. And it was shipping, I think, the first reinforcements that had like the Templar and a few other characters.
Right, yeah.
And then I've been there ever since. So, you know, just talking to the right people and just, you know, just being friendly, you know, just being like, hey, you need a hand, let me know. And then now I'm shipping more, getting to hang out with Cookie, which is awesome. You know, and it's been really great.
I love that they have, and I don't know, I'm just speaking from what I see, but it seems like their vetting process is, how does he connect with us? And like, does his good-naturedness or kindness or generosity or, you know, just good-natured, you know, personality, is that going to vibe and gel with the rest of us? And you know what I mean? So it's like they kind of, everyone that I've met there, they're all cool. Everybody is so nice and so cool. And, you know, I know everyone has their other sides or what, a bad day or whatever, but like everyone, you know, it's like almost like a family kind of atmosphere.
It really is. And that's what I think has been so great about it, is that, you know, we can joke around, we can kind of give each other a hard time, but in the end, it's, you know, it's all love. We're all there for the same purpose. We want to put out great toys, and we have a good time doing it. But, you know, we're serious when it counts. You know, when we're shipping stuff out, taking care of customer service. If it's at an event and we want to make sure that someone gets the right figure, you know, it's like we know that there's a time to, like, you know, hey, mess around and have a good time.
Right.
But that's really, like you said, the process is just bring someone in, see how they get along with people. Hey, you know, he's either having a good time with him or her or whoever, and just seeing, is this someone you want to sit with and have lunch with every day? Is this someone that you want to have on your trip when you go on to an event in California or wherever, you know, they happen to have a table? So that's really part of it. And once you get along with everyone, it's like, okay, great. How can we bring them into the fold?
Now, do you think that the size of the studio, like, is it easier to control that environment of like family? So like if you guys got bigger and bigger, you think you would lose some of that magic? You'd be like, who's this guy? I don't know who that is. Who's this guy? I don't know who that is. You know what I mean? Like, would it lose something, do you think? Like, is the smallness?
Yeah, I think at a certain point, you know, you don't want to have and be 50, 60, 70 people. If you grow to that point because you need it, that's great, because that means you're kind of, but it's not the kind of thing where I think they want it to happen organically. So as you need people, you know, Brad came on as we were starting to do more video. So it made sense to bring him on as opposed to bringing someone on that we just don't have a need and we're trying to find things to do. So I think it's really the growth of the company just goes with how the toys are doing, and kind of looking at the market and saying, okay, this is what's hot. This is what we should be focusing on. We're doing more videos. Or are we going to whatever it is that we're doing? Kind of looking at what's happening, and then, okay, we need to add another person. Like the shipping team has been growing because we have more things to ship out. So it just be me and Cookie. It's me, it's Cookie, it's Dustin, it's Malice. It's a lot. All the people that you saw in the Birth of the Dragon video. It's Greg.
Dustin, my man.
Yeah, Dustin. Yeah, he's awesome. And, you know, we're all working to get the products out. And that's kind of how, again, a lot of people that have started here are friends of friends. Oh, I have a friend who's looking for work. He's either he knows the toy line or he doesn't. And it's not absolutely necessary for you to know the toys to work here. It helps, because I mean, I think it's exciting when you see something like, oh, that's going to be very cool whenever it comes out, you know, or that's going to be awesome, or
Right.
that, you know, just to be able to in that environment, you know,
Yeah.
it's nice to just be there.
I love that they had Brad on to kind of give a different facet, like to show moving, you know, pictures of the figures. It's great, you know, Trevor stuff, it sells.
Yeah.
Like Trevor stuff is magic, but when you have a video and you get to see like this turning thing of Necronominus's head sculpt, it's like, whoa, you know, and he's got the different lighting and stuff. So I love that they're open-minded to different types, different formats, different types of media.
Yeah. It's been, and that's been great because, like you said, Trevor, he's gonna, his images have a certain amount of light to them, just scenes. He has the calendar, the book that's coming out, the book that, you know, get your book now. You can pre-order it on different retailers all over the place. But the book has some great pictures, and he had a chance. Trevor had a chance to take new pictures of old figures because the original pictures. I mean, they brought him on because he was like, your pictures need some extra bump.
I love that story. He's like, those pictures I could do better. Those pictures are not that good.
It's a great toy, but you're not really showcasing it. Now adding this added dimension of the turnarounds and seeing, you know, just seeing Gideon on his horse reared back. People are like, oh my goodness, this is an amazing figure. I showed my wife Sir Gideon the other night, and she's like, this is a magnificent figure. You know, this is just
what a piece.
Like, I mean, the soft goods, the sword, the extra head. It's like it's just amazing. And I think this video element has added a lot. So
spectacle, the spectacle of it, is amazing. Speaking of books, I wanted to, before we move on, for people that don't know, Vern is a author. I looked it up on Amazon. I see 2 books.
Yes.
When good fruit goes bad, which I always hate. I try to eat that fruit before it goes bad, man.
Yeah, some of it you can't if it goes too bad, just throw it out. But this is a book that I wrote with my cousin. I illustrated it, and he did all the finishes and helped me to write it. You know, just a book about eating healthy, but also knowing, you know, eating healthy, creating less waste, but also knowing the value that you have, even with bumps and bruises. And you know, inspired by my son who was getting ready to throw a banana out, and I was like, wait a minute, it's a little brown. You could use it for a smoothie. I was like, no, don't throw it out.
It's still good.
It's still good. Yeah, exactly. It's still good. So I was like, you know what? That's what happens when good fruit goes bad. And it made me think of like this funny story about fruit taking over a store and how, you know, they might react being like, I was thrown in the garbage because I wasn't that cute or I wasn't perfect, and has lessons that are great for kids. So I do a lot of readings at schools, online readings.
I love that.
Really cool journey with that book.
Yeah, I love that. And it's good to teach kids about waste. You know, it's still good. You know, you know, you can repurpose it for whatever.
Yeah.
I lived on a farm when I was a kid, and anything that went bad, we had a bucket and we throw it for the hogs, and we would just throw the fruit and leftover stuff or stuff that went bad or whatever.
Absolutely.
Hogs stir it up, and those hogs would tear it up. No problem.
Yeah, they'll be all over it. Exactly.
Be all over it. Yeah, they'll be all over it. Let's see. And the next book is I'm Dreaming of a Brown Christmas. Can you talk about this one too, real quick? I know you talked about it before in other shows, but I would love to hear you. Talk about this, please. Thank you.
This is another book that was by my cousin and I, Stephen Gray. He's been my cousin, obviously, my whole life. And this was after we did When Good Fruit Goes Bad, we were trying to think of another book we wanted to do. And one day he said he was in the shower singing the classic song I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas, which talks about snow and the beauty of snow in wintertime. And then he said, what if I just changed the lyrics to I'm Dreaming of a Brown Christmas, and talked about brownstones in the city, and talked about things like hot cocoa and cookies and presents and people even of all shades.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a really good idea. And I was like, oh, someone probably has that book idea already, and looked it up. No one had done it. I said, you know what? That's a good idea for a book. And he had a couple of sketches that were done. And I was like, this should be the next book. I have no doubt that it should be the next book. And we ended up, we really wanted it to be, it's in paperback and hardcover, but the hardcover we did through Kickstarter because we wanted to have foil stamping and all these things. And over 2 weeks during the summer of, I want to say 2022, maybe, we did a 2-week Kickstarter, and we were looking for about $8,500 to print 2,000 copies. and we ended up raising $11,000 in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And it was like, I remember getting the email saying, "You've been funded," and actually crying. Like, I couldn't believe we had put this together. And it's been great. We've sold about probably 2,500 copies over the couple of years, between the Kickstarter and going to schools and going to, going all over the place. I've done readings at nursery schools. I've done readings
I love that.
at Barnes and Noble. So that was just another book. And we're working on a third book about a singing competition that's supposed to, we're hoping to do a Kickstarter maybe for that in a couple of months.
Okay. Yeah, that was gonna be my next question.
Yeah, that was
the something lined up.
Yeah, as writers, we have probably 100 book ideas,
yeah.
but you always have 2 or 3 that keep kind of pestering you, like, that's the idea you should do. Yeah. And this one that we have about a singing competition is the one that we've kind of been working on. So we started getting some drawings. Yeah. So that'll be the next one. So thank you for talking about the books. It's
no problem. I've been wanting to bring it up when you were on the show.
Yeah,
I love the cover of this one.
Oh,
who did the art on that?
Oh, so the art on that. So my cousin is just an amazing artist. Again, Steven, he did the art on this. We wrote it together, but he did the art, he did the layouts, pretty much everything from soup to nuts on that was just like everything. Every image in there is like almost like a photorealism, and it's just people see it and like they see themselves in it. Whenever you do books, people say, especially children's books, you have mirror books and then kind of window books. Like a mirror book is something that reflects you, and then a window book is a book that's kind of you looking into another world. And we feel like there's a balance of both. Some people have friends of all colors, some people have friends of just one color. But we wanted this book to make sure it embraced people of all races, really
relate.
But also have a person of color on the cover, because there aren't that many, especially when it comes to Christmas books. So it sold in Barnes and Noble locally in Clifton, right here in Clifton. The guy brought it in, and he's like, "Yes, give me 20 copies right now." He was like, "I love this book. I love the images. I don't have to read it." He's like, "I just love the drawings. I'll get 20 off you right now." So, and then we sell a couple. We sell about 15 to 20 every Christmas there. So we're trying to hopefully branch into more bookstores, nationwide, and who knows.
No, I love that. I think reading and books are still so important in school.
Yes.
I mean, I still remember years and years and years ago, just stopping whatever we were doing, and our teacher would read to us, and just everyone sitting there together and just visualizing what the person was reading and the stories that they told. It was magic.
Yeah. And my kids, I mean, as much as they're on devices, if they are, try to have them on a Kindle, at least they're reading a book. But the first thing we did when we moved to our town was go to the library, get a library card, familiarize yourselves with the librarian, and take out a couple books. Of course, the limit at our library is 50. So the kids were like, "Let's just get 50." And I was like, "No, because that means we have to return 50."
Right.
If you don't return to the library, they're like, they don't do the 5 cents a day. They're like, if you don't return in 90 days, you're paying for the whole book. Like you're gonna.
Oh wow! They don't mess around.
So they don't mess around. Our library gets a letter will be sent and everything. So they're all about reading the physical books, and I try to get them to really read the handheld stuff. Go to Barnes and Noble, buy a couple books, and try to get off the screens.
It's fun to go back to the paper and the I mean, they do take up more space, but
hey,
that media of paper and
the holding of the book and having it in your hand, it's just totally different than just on a device where you're just kind of swiping. So
I agree.
We try to really our kids are big readers, and they've always been. So it's easy to get them to read a book. It's a little harder these days because can I play Fortnite? Can I do something else? Like
there's so many distractions, and then as they get older, and there's they're connecting with their friends at school and stuff, and if it's almost like it would be alienating if the kids didn't play Fortnite, or they didn't have social medias or something like that. They'd be like, kids would be like, "What's wrong with you?" Which is a bummer, but I mean, that's the way it is these days, I guess.
And at first I was kind of hesitant about Fortnite, but it's since they're able to play with their friends, it's kind of a connection tool. And I'm like, these shooting games, but I'm like, I played much worse games when I was a kid.
Right.
I'm like, Fortnite is like Nerf, pretty much, same thing as
it's cartoony.
It's cartoony, and it's again a great way, I think, for them to connect with their friends, because they can't always go on play dates or go to their house or whatever. So it's nice. Okay, I'm gonna have a party with 4 or 5 of my close friends. They play for an hour. You keep it limited, and then you kind of move on. So it's been good.
Right on, man. So I see behind you, I think that are you in your garage that you turned into your toy room?
Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
that's why
We've been talking about that for a while.
Yeah, so it was a project that was started mainly because we had a contract. A friend of ours is a contractor. He's done other work on our house, and he came to the garage one day because like, oh, we want to do something with it, and he was like, yeah, you need to do this because there's some stuff in here that could go up and there was boxes and everything. He's like, this is
Right.
safe, and you're not using it as a garage. So he said, if if you're interested in just converting it to a usable space, let us know. And he did a great job. You can see the toys behind me, shelves of stuff. He put lighting in, and this is kind of my toy room because I had a couple shelves in the house, but then I wanted some shelves. I was like, I really want to be able to spread out and really take my time.
Right.
So I have a limit as far as I will go because my wife is like, you're gonna have a limit.
That's your limit, your wife.
Yeah, my wife. She's like, you have enough shelves. I'm like, just one more here, and then I'm good. So it's it's been really fun, kind of putting the figures out and taking them out of the boxes. I know it's not
Yes,
fun.
let them breathe.
It could, and you know what's funny because toys can be intimidating after you build up a collection, and then you're like, where do I start to open stuff? Because then you're like, where do I open it? Then I have all this garbage that's created. You open 10 Mythics figures, you have a bunch of plastic, you have this, and if you open, I don't even collect Marvel Legends anymore. I stopped collecting when they did the relaunch, like the return of Marvel Legends that had like Thor and Iron Man, a couple pieces. I was like, nope, I'm not getting into it because I found myself buying toys, putting them in storage when I was living in Jersey in a little storage area. And I'm like, I'm not even looking at these things. I'm not opening them.
It's a waste.
Yeah, so I'm like, at a certain point, you have to kind of decide: am I buying them for the boxes? Am I buying them to open? And if I'm going to buy them to open, let me make sure I'm opening it pretty quickly, or else it gets to be a lot. So I still have a lot of toys that are still in packages that I want to open.
Yeah,
but
I'm gonna get to those.
As much.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to those. I'm gonna get to those.
Oh boy.
No, I'm saying, if you have them in sight, you're like, I'm gonna get to those.
I'm gonna get to those.
I see you over there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I
open
see you looking at me. I see. Sometimes you don't have a spot for it. You're like, oh, I know where I want it to go, but I don't have the space on the shelf, or I don't have the right display case, or whatever. So you're like, I got a space for you. I know where you're gonna go. I just need to move some other stuff around. So
you do a little shuffling.
Yeah, exactly. Some shuffling, reorganizing. What am I playing? What am I looking at? What do I care about? Does this need a space? Sometimes you look at a toy, you're like, I don't even like this. I just bought it.
Right.
Put it out because I have
the hype. The hype got me, and now I'm like, I don't really need that.
I'm not that big into it. So yeah, but it's been good.
Yeah, I'm kind of limited on space, so I've got a garage that's slowly getting filled up with bins.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do I have that figure? I asked my stepson this morning about a Black Series figure. I'm like, did you get me that figure? And he's like, no. I'm like, okay. I didn't know if I had it or not, because sometimes I'll buy a double and I'm like, wait, did I have that? I don't know if I have that.
Isn't that the worst? You're like, I could have sworn I didn't have. Like, I don't remember buying it.
Yeah, now I got two. I'm like, oh man,
I've got two. And I got to return it. It's like, and then you don't feel like returning it. So yeah, and I've cut down, I think, on buying everything. Like, I buy a handful of Transformers, mostly Mythic, Cosmic. I'm into Classified.
Joe's. I love Classified, dude.
Yeah, Classified and Bala. Because they go together, and
Fresh Monkey Fiction, the monster.
Oh, those! I mean, they're just doing. And Chris worked on the Operation Monster Force. I know it's one of.
I thought that I had heard him say that, but I wasn't sure what it was that he. Yeah,
I mean, they're just really well done. A lot of accessories. I haven't had
a ton of stuff.
I don't. Yeah, half the stuff I don't even know. Oh, you got a friend. Hey,
it's my daughter Nova.
Oh, hey, what's up?
Okay.
So so I've been very happy with the Monster Force stuff, and they showed off a few months ago. I think at one of the toy conventions they're going to maybe do Cops and Crooks.
Yes, I heard about that.
Yeah. So I saw they have a prototype of Bulletproof, and I said to myself, if they're going to do this, I'm all in, because that was one of my favorite toy lines growing up. That was I mean, a short-lived cartoon, but I had every toy, every vehicle.
Did you? I never had any of that stuff. I never had any of it.
Yep, that was I was big into toys at that point. So I remember there used to be a toy store in the city called Lionel's Kitty City, because Lionel Trains used to have a toy store.
Right.
Open, and I remember they had a big opening, and they had a whole wall of just cops and crooks. And toy stores aren't. I remember. You remember when we were kids, we used to go to Toys R Us and shelves of GI Joe.
Oh man, endless.
I mean, we don't know how good we had it.
Every figure, it was all there.
Oh, it's all there. No chase figure, no this, whatever you wanted was there. So yeah, Cops and Crick was a big one for me. So that was a big one growing up. That and Transformers, Thundercats, a lot of those
I
toys.
love
G.I.
the
Joe.
Thundercats.
Yeah, G.I. Joe, Silverhawks, those were so a lot of the stuff that Super 7 is doing. I'm getting not everything. I'm getting a good amount just to get like main teams and that kind of stuff and
Right. I
fill
like
in.
that stuff.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, I want the main team of Thundercats. I
Kind
want
of
the main team.
polarizing. Some people are like, I don't like this and I don't like that, but they get really like upset over Super 7 and Brian Flynn and all that. It's like,
Yeah, it's tough because the industry, there's so many factors that go into how toys are made, and the only way you can really answer that is as a consumer, it's to stop buying them.
yes,
Right? Like
that's how you respond.
I mean, look at for a while they had gone to the windowless packaging for I think classified.
Right.
People were like, I'm opening, getting home, and the figure's not there. It's a different figure, and they eventually had to go back to the regular packaging because I'm like, I'm not going to buy a toy, especially on Amazon sometimes, where they're not checking at all. People are still getting stuff that has the wrong figure in it.
Right.
But like, I'm not going to take a risk of going to a toy store, buying a toy off the shelf, and then getting home and it's some other random toy in there. So the consumers have to be smart about it, and if they want companies to change, you have to stop buying the product. Right. That's the only way they really listen. So that's
the only way.
That's the only way.
I think.
Complaining on the toy board.
That's the quickest way to show.
Yeah.
If people are like, I'm not buying that, then then they have an overabundance of these.
Why isn't the stuff selling? Yeah. And they're like, oh, wait a minute, they're not selling me. This toy store has 20 of them and they sold 2 because people are like, nope, I don't know what's in there. I'm not going to buy it. I'll spend my money somewhere else or save it. So yeah, that's the way consumer. So yeah, it's like a love-hate relationship with Super 7. Like they have great licenses, but sometimes the quality can be up and down. You'll get one figure that knocks it out of the park, and another figure that is missing a part, or is backwards, or the plastic. So it's not an easy business. But if you don't keep the customers happy, then you lose customers, and then you can't. Then you have to charge more because your license is expensive, and a lot of things go into it. So you have to be smart about how you treat the consumer, but also how you price things. People are getting priced out of things.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a factor. I have a live show every other Sunday, and we were talking about the owners of the company and how sometimes the owner of the company, did you find her? Is she coming? The owner of the company can affect sales. So like we were talking about Bobby Valla. Mm-hmm. And people that were in the live thing, they're like, I don't want to talk about Bobby Valla, and I don't like, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, some people though, like they won't buy, like my friend Brett, Brett Stoddard, he won't buy Valaverse because he just doesn't like
him,
Bobby Valla, and so, but I think that people kind of, and I think if you're wanting to be the face of your company, you also have to make sure that you're a man of the people, I guess, because if you're too polarizing, they're gonna be like, I'm not buying your stuff.
Right. Yeah. If people are so against, like, oh, I don't like the guy at all, you're gonna lose customers. And some people are like, well, then I don't want them as a customer anyway. That's what some people say. And that's, I think, it might be his attitude. Like, oh, if you're gonna complain about stuff and you don't like me, then whatever. I'll just find other customers or whatever. So I know he's not for everyone. I think he makes a great product. He's super honest, I think, about things.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with him. Like he's every time I've met him, he's been super nice.
Yeah,
it was just an example that like sometimes, or like Brian Flynn, some people just hate Brian Flynn. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't get it. I met him a couple times. He's been nice every single time.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe it's how you approach this person, or maybe they're human too. It's like it's like treat them with respect, and they probably will treat you with respect.
Yeah, and some people use the forums and the toy boards to be like, "Oh, this guy's the worst," and try to bring people down. And it's like, it's a business. Oh, it's a cash grab when they put this out. Like companies are in the business of making money. That's how you get more toys. If you put out toys and lose money with each sale, you're not going to be in business very long. Oh, why didn't they price them higher? So you have to find that balance.
Right.
I think people underestimate, how much goes into toys, how much money it takes to produce toys, and all the work that goes on behind the scenes to make sure you get a quality product. So,
have being at the studio now, like, do you have more of an insight of how toys are being, or do you not pay attention to that? Like, are you privy to that kind of the
Yeah,
process now, or?
So yeah, even seeing how the 3D printers work, and I was, even I was working at one point on the busts that are done for intern for a day.
Right.
So I was seeing how to make them. I had the molds that Bill had worked on. So they kind of 3D print the bust, make a mold of it, a cast, and then I'm able to kind of mix these two compounds that harden inside of it. Then I clean it up and do that kind of stuff. So it was very cool to see kind of the process that goes into it, whether it's the sculpting side of things on the ZBrush that Bill's doing, or that Eric might be doing, and seeing that whole process, and then seeing them come out of the printer, and then seeing how they have to be cleaned up and made this, and they have to be adjusted before they're prototyped. So there's a lot that goes into it. So I have a much better appreciation just for the process of going from a drawing to a 3D drawing to a 3D printed piece, and them going back and forth with China. It's not the kind of thing where you send it over there and they're like, okay, perfect.
Right. Yeah.
Production.
All right. Let's make it.
Right. But it's like, yeah, and then it has to come from overseas and come back.
Yeah.
And then it has to be painted by Cam or Joe or Sherry. And all those parts of the process. Then it has to be photographed and videoed. So there's a lot that goes into it before it gets to in your hands, So you look at something like Necronominus and the intricacies and all the parts and the tooling. They're very intricate, and when you see, I think Curtis has been doing kind of exploded versions of the figures, and I think people see it like, oh wow, this figure.
It's a lot to it.
50 parts, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not 5 points of articulation. It's many, and now they're double jointed, and this, and you can more movement. So all that comes into play. You have to make sure that they're put together in a sound way where you can still take them apart, but when you're together, it's still a toy. Because a lot of people don't even do the popping and swapping. There's some people that buy it might switch a head off, but they're not doing anything else. They're not putting it in the hot water. They're not doing that. So you have to make the toy durable for that, and just someone that wants to pose it as a toy, but also, do the swapping and do all the stuff that people are doing, which is awesome, which is what makes the toy so versatile.
Absolutely. Yeah. I am so interested in the process and the productivity and all that stuff. Like it's geeky in a science way. Like, just like I was talking to a friend today about durometer and like how like the plastic, the softness. So like, and Chris will talk, if you mention it to Chris, like he'll talk about it for an hour about how the hands, you got to make sure that the hands are soft enough and pliable enough so that you can fit, a weapon or something in their hand. Yeah. And it doesn't break or shatter, and it's not too difficult. Yeah. And like, that's something I never even thought of, but like, it's a different type of hardness or a different type of plastic or something that they use. Right. And it's so interesting. And I love that the studio is open about that. Like they will, talk to us about the construction of things and share it. And that I think is really special.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I think this company is as transparent as most companies, more than most companies
absolutely
need to be,
I don't know anything about Mezco. I don't know anything about
nothing, right? I know they every once in a while they'll have a drop and you pick it up, but you know nothing about the process, who works there, anything. They're very kind of close shielded. Like but it's funny that you said about the hand thing, because you don't think about the fact that it has to be durable enough to be able to open, and it needs to be able to open almost without the heat. Like if someone buys it, they should be able to kind of get the weapon in there without heating it up. I remember as a kid, all my early G.I. Joes, the thumb snapped off.
I was gonna mention that. I would be so mad. I'm like, okay, so Flash was in an explosive accident and his finger got blown off now. So I'm like, man.
I'm still mad about my Stalker figure. That was the very first figure. My babysitter got that for me. I was not into G.I. Joe. She got me Stalker. I was like, oh, it's a black action figure. I was like, what is going on?
He got the beret. He was
bad. And he was looking good. I was like, oh, this
Stalker,
is my man.
He's got a great name. He's not barbecue.
No.
He's got a great name. Like,
he's a real G, And I remember putting that weapon in, and I was like, oh, I was trying to get it to do the, so that the back was kind of under the arm, and it was like snap. And I was like, oh no. And though that plastic was I think the next wave, they changed the plastic so that it was much more pliable. You put the gun in, it wasn't a problem. But that was like a hard plastic. So yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah, it was brittle.
But,
that was a learning
Mm-hmm.
That was probably my first break.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know? And,
And that in the I remember they were all O-ring, so they had
yes,
the
those
plastic rubber
bands.
band. I remember that would deteriorate. It would deteriorate over time, and you'd be playing with the figure years later, and all of a sudden it would snap in half, and you're like, "What happened?" And the rubber band would just. It was a thick rubber band, but after a while, you play with it, and it would just deteriorate over time. And yeah, you'd be like, "Oh, how do I fix this?" And you figured out how to take the screw out. It was a whole thing.
It was kind of fun though, you know.
Yeah.
Like we would take them apart. I would switch them up.
Me
You know,
too.
you'd have red legs today, and brown legs tomorrow or whatever.
Exactly.
Mix it up, do all
Whatever
kinds of
work, exactly.
things.
Like you're like, this is how they do it in the factory. They're kind of putting it together,
Yes.
doing and I did the same thing. Yeah, you had a bunch of figures that were kind of Frankenstein, like that was early customs, right? That was early customization of figures. You have a bunch of broken parts, you figure out what goes with what, you put them in the holes, and boom, boom, and you're good to go. So
Right.
yeah.
Yep. Good stuff back then. That was the dawn of some great toys.
Yeah. Yeah, we had some good toys. We had a lot of options, and GI Joe would come out. You'd have 30 figures, in a wave. You're like, where am I gonna get all these toys? And there was no army building. I mean, and there's some kids you had that one kid who had like the flag or had like the big stuff. I had a kid. The biggest thing I had was I think ever was the Cobra Terradrome. I got that for Christmas one year, and I was like, "This thing is amazing!" I mean, so many hours playing with it, putting it together, and that was probably the biggest vehicle I have. But there was no army building. You just got a Viper and got a Cobra Officer, and that was about it. I think I had 2 like Alley Vipers at one time, but everything else, one of each, and just played with them and just
imagination. Like I always talk about that. Like you don't need 100 troopers,
Nope.
Your imagination is enough.
Fill in the ranks.
Fill in the ranks. That's right.
That's right. You're like, pew, pew. You're just pretending someone's shooting from over there, and they'd be fine. Yeah, you didn't need a bunch of them actually around. So yeah, you made it work.
Yeah. Good old days, man. Good stuff. So do you still have some of the toys that you had as a kid, or
a couple of? My mom still lives where I grew up, in Union City. So there's a couple of things, like I was going through some stuff and I found like pieces of the Havoc vehicle.
Yeah.
Old, I had Jetfire, but he was all busted up. So I have a couple of things, but a lot of those.
Jetfire.
Yeah. I mean, that was just magnificent. But a lot of that stuff I either gave away, like to Goodwill, not realizing, like I remember my Thundercats and He-Man. One day I came in and I said, I'm done. I'm not into action figures. And my mom was like, okay. She gave them all to Goodwill. And then years later, I was like, oh, what was I thinking? Why would Thunder had all this stuff and it was in good condition? So a couple things are there, but most of the stuff I sold a lot of stuff on eBay years ago, like when eBay first started and people were starting to pay like good prices for some of the Joes. I had a couple of rarer ones that were, but nothing on the card, but a couple of loose ones that people were like, well, they pay $60-$70 for. But most of that stuff is gone. Yeah.
So you're not like a retro collector.
No, I can't.
You're going forward.
I can't go down that road. I can't be like,
it's an expensive road.
It is, especially because toys today are made in such quantities that there's not going to be really anything rare. Every once in a while there'll be a variant that might come out, but even then people aren't going to pay a lot for a variant of a classified figure, but I don't have any of that stuff, and I can't go into the retro thing. I can't do it because it's just it's a rabbit hole. You know how it is with any toy line,
right.
Like, oh well,
it's hard. I mean, that stuff is out there, but you're going to pay ridiculous amounts for
even loose and beat up. You go to the toy convention, you see a Transformer that's beat up, and you're like, why is it $150? Like, well,
what makes this that much money? Like, how did we come to that? That decision.
Yeah. So
it's kind of shocking. Like I had lost all my stuff. My mom passed when I was a kid, and then I went to go live with my dad for the summer, I think. Mm-hmm. And when I came back, my grandma had like sold everything.
Oh,
and I think that shock made me like want to collect that stuff again to get it back.
Yeah.
But I don't if I don't get everything it's okay, but like there was a Wheeled Warriors, which was a big cartoon when I
remember that. Jace, was it Jace in the Wheeled Warriors?
Yeah, Jace in the Wheeled Warriors. Yeah, good. Yeah. And I had gone to a toy shop in Detroit, and they had one, and I was like, oh man, I want that.
Mm.
Like, I was just like, I had forgotten, and then I saw it, and I'm like, ooh, I want. And it wasn't in the, like you said, it was loose, probably missing stuff. Maybe a sticker got rubbed off. $100.
Yeah.
I was just like, $100. It was like $7 as a kid, $6. And now it's 100. Of course, I bought it.
Of course, of course. I knew the story. I knew where the story was going.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not leaving without that. I'm taking that with me. But
yeah, sometimes you see some. It's funny when you see some of those toys, like either mint in the box or close, and you see what they're asking. And sometimes the original price tag is still on it.
Right.
You're like, this was $3.99. Like, this is
right.
insane.
Yeah.
When
how do we get to $300? Like, how does that?
What's the
30 years?
the markup here?
$100. A decade. How does that work?
Yeah, so many of those toys are, and there's less and less of them out there. As you get further along, there's less and less of that stuff mint on card, and they're just
beat up.
Nostalgia is big business, whether it comes to movies or toys. Movies are going back to old franchises and rebooting them. Right. And toys are the same way. Classified are bought by adults, not kids. There's no cartoons. Yes. Transformers maybe got some kids because there's movies, but for the most part, Thundercats, all those things are being bought by kids like kids like us.
Nostalgia is what fuels,
It does. It really does.
They want that again. So, what kind of collector are you? Are you? So you said you like to open it right away. Are you one of those that like, I need one to display and one, in a box? And, what's your idiosyncrasies when it comes to that? Do you have any kind of weird, quirky?
No, I don't really buy anything to keep and buy. At first, I was gonna start buying the classified retro because I like the way they look.
I love the cards.
But I didn't go that route because I was like, where am I gonna put a bunch of carded extras?
The card's huge too.
Yeah, it's huge.
I'm looking at Cobra Commander, and it's like the card. I'm looking at the card right now. It's like it's got to be like 13 or 14 inches. I'm like,
they're big. That's a 6-inch figure, but the card, because they want to get the art on there, they want to go the accessories, and I was like, no, I can't go down that road. So I don't really buy anything to keep on card. At one point, the retro packaging is starting to get me, so I was thinking of the what toy line is? Oh, the not G.I. Joe, the Spider-Man. Spider-Man is doing a lot of them based on the animated series.
Right.
I used to have all those toys too. Like, I was big into those
nostalgia, baby. It's nostalgia.
And I'm like, nope. I'm like, I can't do it. So I haven't gone down that road because
I'm not doing it.
Right, because part of me wants to buy it just because the packaging looks so cool and I think it will look cool to display. But then I'm like, wait, I also like the figure, so I'd have to buy two. I'm like, now I'm at $50 for a figure that's going to sit in the card and not probably go up in price at all, and then a figure that's going to go in front of it. Like, it's so I've been pretty good about not going to on that.
You're a disciplined man, yeah, because I fall into that. I'm like, okay, I want to keep one. So I have two Cobra Commanders, one to open and one to keep in the card. But like, I don't have any room in my walls. I don't have any room anywhere to play it. So like, now I've got two.
That's the plight of the collector.
Why did I do that for?
Yeah, that's the plight of the collector these days. Like, trying to figure out like space, because there's always going to be something new coming out. So you say, am I going to collect everything? Am I going to pull back? Financially, do what makes sense financially, and make sure that it doesn't put you into debt because you're getting so much stuff. But it's which is tough. It's very hard to do that because there's so much cool stuff coming out, and you have third-party companies that are doing, 5K Toys is doing toys.
Oh man.
And all these small companies are doing stuff that goes with Mythic Legions. They're doing these huge trolls, and they're doing this, and they're doing these huge goblins.
Right.
Oh, that would look great with this.
Yes.
And it'd be extremely difficult to kind of say no.
Part of this group, and he sells stuff, but he gets imports.
Okay. Oh.
And so.
Oh boy.
He's like, here you go. And I never had a Shogun Warrior. I never had the Mazinger when I was a kid.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, you got me on that. And $200.
Wow.
I'm like, damn.
Right
after Christmas. Come on.
Right. You're already broke.
Killing me,
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
But it's that nostalgia, and it's that, and I haven't even opened it. I don't have room. What am I gonna do? But I wanted it. I'm like, I gotta have that.
Yeah. Once in a while you'll see some
collectors.
Like, I don't know where it's gonna go, but I'm gonna get it. But it doesn't happen at the toy show.
I'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out later. That's tomorrow Vernon's problem.
Exactly.
Something I picked up they had someone at ToyCon had boxed the Batman and Superman, like Dawn of Heroes. I can't remember what it was, or whatever the movie was. They had the Batmobile. It was missing a couple of things, like it didn't have the smoke effect and everything else, but it was like $150 or whatever it was. Like I was like, I'll take it right now, because I had wanted one, but all in the secondary on the box with everything, they're like $400 or $500.
Now, is that big one that has the smoke coming out of it?
That's the one.
I have that, dude, and that thing is amazing, but it's huge. It's like
right, and it's currently in my attic because I don't know where to put it. Because I'm like,
but you have it.
I had because I was like,
but you have it though.
Because my comic store had one mint in the box for like $400 or $500, and I was like,
I didn't know they're that much.
Huh?
I didn't know they cost that. I didn't know they're that much.
It was. I think because it's aftermarket now, so I think it was originally maybe $250, $300 when it came out. So now they're gonna give you the late fee. So I was like, nope, can't do it. I'm not gonna do it. And I saw it at Token. I was like, I'll take it. He's like, it's missing the smoke. I was like, I don't need to smoke. I just need to look cool.
Right, I don't care about the smoke.
Yeah, exactly. So once I figure out a place to put it, it's gonna be great. But he said it's massive.
Yeah. So do you like? I know you definitely collect Mythics. So knowing that like this wave is coming, or this or that wave, or Necronominus, like, do you like create space for that, or do you deal with it when it comes? Like, do you like, okay, I know this is going to be, 15 figures, so I got to clear this much space for.
Yeah, I started thinking about that the other day. I was talking with Cookie about it, and I was like, man, we have this. We have All-Star 6 coming at some point. We have two waves. The Dragon's going to be going on pre-order. We have 2 waves of Cosmic that are, they've already been solicited. And I was like, I need to think about space. Like just those 5 that's 5 shelves already, So I try to plan ahead as far as, trying to put things by faction and trying to keep it somewhat organized. But you make a custom and all of a sudden you have a new Templar that wasn't part of it. So then you have space for that. You have the armory figures. There are 10 of those. So you're like, I got to figure out where, make space for those. So there's just so much quantity and so much product coming out, which is great. It's, it's a nice problem to have. But I try to plan it out as much as I can, and sometimes I'll think about, I've been to the store before lately where I'll see a bunch of toys that I like. I'll pick up 2 or 3. Then I'll get to the register and I'm like, no, I don't really want it. I don't really want it. And then,
I'll really look at it and I'm like, do I really, where's this going to go? Like that other part of my brain, is like, where is this going to go? What am I going to do with it? Do I need it?
Right. Do I want it because everyone else is looking for it, or do I really want it? That kind of thing. So I've had that happen before. I'm like, no, I don't really want it. I'm going to take this home and never look at it again. So, and sometimes patience saves pockets. If you wait for something that's on sale, eventually like, I kind of want it, but I don't need to have it. Maybe I'll get it. I bought a 2-pack of McFarlane characters. It was this character that has like almost a star on his face. It's a bad guy. I can't think of his name. And then he comes with, it's a 2-pack of him and then a robotic version of Batman. Mm-hmm. It's like in a blue costume called the Rookie. And I saw that and it was like $70. And I was like, nope, not doing it. And then I saw it in the store again, and I scanned it because there was no price, and it was down to 30. I'm like, yes, I will take it.
I'll do that.
and I took the one figure. I didn't want the second figure, and then I told Joe, I was like, I found it in the store. He's like, what are you gonna do with the other figure? I was like, I'm not sure. He's like, I'll buy it. So then we split it, so that I got the figure I wanted for like $15.
There you go. Yeah, so, there you go.
So that's the so much FOMO goes a lot into why people buy toys.
It does. Yeah, I that's something I try to teach my stepson because he's very impulsive.
Yeah.
When something comes out like Necronominus, it came out, he lives in California and there's not a lot of places for him to go to get it.
Yeah.
And so, I said, hey, I'm going to MuskyCon, I'm going to ZoloCon. Hopefully that stuff will be there, just wait. Nope. eBay, boom, boom, and he's paying $80. For this figure, that figure. It's impulsive, and I'm like, just wait.
Yeah,
wait. You're gonna pay a better price, but these young people, they gotta have it right now.
Gotta have it now. Gotta have it now, because if not, I'm not gonna be cool amongst my friends, or I'm gonna miss out. Right. And for so many times you're gonna get it at either the price you want or cheaper. And sometimes it'll go up in price, and you're like, well, maybe I miss out on it this time. But it's not. you know, it's not the end of the world.
Right. But well, like you said earlier, like things don't really disappear. You know, you'll if you're patient. I mean, there's been a few times where I'm like, I'm gonna wait, and then never was able to get it because it
Right.
jumped to like, you know, $700, and I'm like, no, I'm never gonna pay that.
I'm out.
But you know, usually if you're patient, like there was exclusives at San Diego Comic-Con, and my stepson would be like, I'm getting that. I'm getting, you know, $120. I'm like, just wait, you know.
Yeah.
Like people are going there just for you to, you know, to buy that Boba Fett and sell it to you for $100 when they only paid $40 for it.
Exactly.
Just wait.
Trying to get you on
You'll have a chance. Just be patient, you know. And sometimes he would, sometimes he wouldn't. But you know, you gotta, you know, you gotta play the long game sometimes. And
you do. Yeah. People say, I see it all the time. Patience saves pockets, right? So sometimes you just have to wait and you're like, oh, I got it for half the price, and now I can spend that extra money on a different figure or whatever instead of
always toys though.
Always toys, yeah, exactly. Never grow.
That's a whole nother, you know, that's
yeah.
So are you a completionist, or are you okay with just cherry picking different?
I'm at this point I'm a cherry picker. You know, for certain lines like the Thundercats, I'm like, I need to have the main characters, and then if I get an enemy here and there, I'll get it. Like I hadn't gotten, I think I'd asked you before about Wily Kit, the female kitten. And if you saw one, because I think the orders have been getting lower for those toys pre-ordering, so they didn't have as many, and then it sold out and I couldn't find one. But then I guess there was enough in demand, they started taking more orders. So I was like, I waited. I didn't end up paying $100 for it, and now I got one. So, you know, that worked out, you know.
Play the long game.
Yeah, play the long game. Like if I get her, I get her. I don't. I mean, you know, that's the point I think I'm at in my life. But completionist, not for the most part. You know, usually I want to complete a team like Gargoyles from Disney. Love the figures, love the toys. I was a big fan of the cartoon as a kid. I got to work. Oh, that's something I had mentioned, is I got to work with Keith David. He did a reading.
Right.
Yeah, he did a reading of the Brown Christmas book, and you know, it was like amazing. My dad, when he first introduced, he's like, you know who Keith David is? I'm like, yeah, that's Spawn. That's the Arbiter from
Hell yeah. Halo. Yeah, Dead Presidents. I mean,
this guy's a legendary voice. So to have him read our book was amazing. So getting back to Gargoyles, that's a much shorter line because there aren't as many characters. I mean, I wouldn't get a lot of the repaints. I just wanted the main characters, the bad guy, the detective, and that'll probably be done. So it's kind of nice when you have a line that is complete, and you know that you're not going to get the variants or get these other ones, because I'm just like, I'm good. I have all the characters. I'm happy with, you know, that collection.
I think they discontinued that line too, didn't they?
I think they did. Someone else said that to me, and they said they heard from someone that the line they're not going to come out with. I think Cold Stone was supposed to come out, and like there's a couple of characters that are like Shakespearean character names. I can't remember their names, but yeah, they said I guess that maybe they're not selling, or I don't know. Maybe, you know, it's tough because it's a great line, great figure, well done. Like this, I had always wanted really well done versions of those characters, and they did a great line. But you know, it's a tough business. You know, it's hard. Everyone's fighting for your money, and the price of things are going up.
Yeah.
And if you're not giving enough quality and enough accessories with your toys, then people are like, you know, you look at the Mythic Legion. I hate to go back to Mythic Legions, but you look at a figure like Sir Elijah, and you're like, wait, he comes with this head. He comes with the skeleton head. He comes with the helmeted head. He comes with the shoulders. He comes, you know, there's just so much that you're getting for your value, and people recognize that, you know. So
absolutely,
that's what companies need to realize. Like, hey, you can't charge $50 for a Marvel Legends figure if it only comes with an extra set of fists. You know, I don't.
Thank you. I've gotten into so many arguments. Like people have been mad at me and not talked to me for days because I'm like, at the end of the day, it's a Marvel Legends figure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it comes with, you know, these extra arms and these, you know, I'm like, yeah, it should have came with the regular Legends, should have came with all that to begin with.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, maybe I'm spoiled because of Mythic Legions. Maybe, you know, for $37 or $40, I'm getting Sir Elijah, and it's just, you get all of this amazing stuff and hand painted and this craftsmanship and sculpting.
Yeah.
So maybe I am expecting more, you know, maybe these other companies need to step up their game a little bit.
Yeah. And, you know, again, then the market will determine whether or not it's a success. Like if something sells out and they're like, well, people are willing to pay, then you really can't complain if the price stays at that, because the only way people answer is by holding their money back. So if this does well, the maximum. I think the maximum. It's funny because I really like the concept of the maximum series.
I do too.
But I was like, that's a great idea. It's kind of a version of Ultimates. It gives you a little bit of everything.
Yes.
But I was like, it's not. I felt like it's not quite where. They didn't push it as far as they should have. It could have maybe come with the action stand, maybe a couple of different heads, and a couple. I felt like there was more that could have been done there. But again, it probably comes down to cost. And they, like all companies, they look at, okay, we charge this much, and it costs us this much for the license. Blah blah blah. How much can we, we add an accessory that takes off how much more money we're making per figure. So, it all comes into play. But then again, it has to be answered by the consumer. Like, you can't complain and buy the toy.
Right, exactly.
Oh, I'll take 20.
I mean, you can, but...
You can. But it's what people do. They're like, I'm going to buy
they do.
This sucks. I'm going to buy 50 of them, and then nothing changes. So, so I'll be interested to see what other figures they come out with that one besides that.
That's my thought, too. I hopefully like a Daredevil or something cool.
I said Daredevil. I think Cable would be a good one because
yes, that's a good one.
There's a couple. I even thought some of the X-Men.
Blade would be cool.
Yes, even a Cyclops with like a bunch of blast, like from the video game Marvel vs. Capcom kind of game with like the big blast and like that kind of stuff. So they have the characters there. Just do they put the accessories there that make people say, "Oh, I really want to get this,"
Yeah, I think $50 is that line where people are like, wait a minute, I gotta really think about this.
It's right there.
Gotta really think about that. That's $50. That's a lot. So then you got shipping or whatever.
Yeah,
you get one figure.
You're almost at $60 for a Spider-Man that you're probably gonna display with. You can't display all the pieces at once. So you display it one way, put the rest in the accessory bin, and probably never look at it again. So you have to figure out is that worth it? $39.99 probably would have been a perfect price.
Right.
Oh, I want a Marvel Legends figure. It has a couple accessories, but when you get to 50, you're like, closer to 55 or 60, shipping and tax, and all of a sudden, like, pay $60 for
it's your reasonableness comes back into play. Like everyone has that threshold.
Yeah.
But like I heard 50, and I'm like, I snapped out. I'm like, oh, that's a nice figure. I like how the human hands with the gauntlet where it's got the. I'm like, I like that.
Yeah.
And then I see the price, and maybe that's why they withheld it. I don't know, but I was like 50, and then I kind of snapped out of the.
Yeah.
It's like when you see that nice car, and you're like, man, that is a nice car, man. And you ask your friend, how much you pay for that? 75. I'm like, whoa. Okay. Yeah. I don't know, guy. I don't know, but everyone's got their threshold of what they think is worth it or not.
And I'll never tell people how to spend their money. Like, if you want to spend $50 on something, or you want to spend $300 on a figure, do what works for you. Do what makes you happy. Never want to be like, oh, that's a waste of money. Use your money however you want. Yeah. People would say buying toys is a waste of money. I mean, it's a hobby. It's something that we enjoy. So I think it's a good use of our time. But everyone has their wants and their. And people have different ways. Some people buy comics. Some people buy cars. Some people buy whatever it is. However you spend your money is really. Is it really up to you?
I think our partners see, like, does this make me happy? Yes. Then it's something tolerable. Like I can come in my room and just be like,
bring
the peace. It's like, this is a calming, I'm surrounded by things that I love.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think and again, I think I've been a collector since since that first G.I. Joe that I got. I was like hooked on toys.
Mm-hmm.
And then even for a little while, when I used to work for the NBA, I was there for about 5 years in marketing.
And you had some interesting jobs, man.
I've been all, and I haven't. It's weird because I have an architecture degree from Columbia, a BA in architecture. My first job out of school was working for a sales company because I didn't want to do architecture. I ended up in a sales company, then at a pay-per-view company, and then I was at the NBA. And then I was there at the NBA for about 5 years. Uh-huh. That's how I met my wife. It was actually a blind date set up through someone at work. So
wow.
So that was very fortunate. So, but when I lost my job in 2008 because they were kind of cutting jobs, the economy was terrible. 2008. I just got married. They let me. I got married in May. I got let go in October, and I didn't know what to do. I was like, the jobs were not answering. No one was hiring. It was terrible. Right. In the toilet.
I remember I quit my job in 2008, not realizing that we were getting ready to go into a recession. I had no idea, and I was like, "Oh man, that was."
And I knew my job was going to be I knew I was going to probably lose my job because they had kind of been training me. That had been training someone else on what I do, but I wasn't told what my new job was going to be. And I was like, oh, yeah, like,
Okay.
train this person. We'll find something for you. I'm like, okay, this isn't going to go well. But, it worked out fine because what I did was I ended up doing eBay customs where I was customizing toys. So I would take existing toys and I would customize them into characters. I was doing a lot of Marvel Legends figures and a lot of DC Classics because there were obscure characters that you never heard of that were like in one panel of a comic, but someone's collector out there was like, I need to have him. I need to have,
yeah, absolutely.
This character. And then I was getting, sometimes $60, $70. One time I got $1,100 for a figure.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And I was like, whoa, this is all right. So I did that for about a year. Yeah, exactly. So I did that from 2008 to about 2010. And then I found a job working back at Columbia where I went to school in alumni relations, was there for a while. And then we had the twins and all that kind of stuff kind of happened within a couple of years. And then I ended up being a stay-at-home dad. But yeah, so I was actually making custom toys for a long time. And it was a nice little gig. So that was my odd path out of school. And now I'm at a toy company. But anyone that grew up knowing me, and if I told them now that I was working at a toy company, they say, yeah, that tracks.
Right.
That's Vernon working at a toy company. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna end it on that note. We've gone an hour, and I'm having a great time, but I've got to get going. I got stuff to do, and you're a family man. You got stuff always to do.
Absolutely.
But I'd love to have you on again. Whenever you're free, we talk again. I'd love to talk to you more about Necronominus and things coming out this year. So maybe we can pencil in a new time, and I will see you in next week at ZoloCon.
Will. You'll see me at Zolo. Yeah, I'll be there and hanging out and be at the table, and it's gonna be a good time. That's and it's gonna be a new space, which is awesome. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the setup is gonna be there and how different. It's not at the Fuge. The Fuge is what it was called, I think.
Fuge, yeah. So, that was a fun venue also. Yeah,
just very different with the the little sciencey things and just the layout. It was cool.
Retro.
Kind of like a throwback vibe.
Yeah, it was. But so when are you supposed to be there?
I leave so Friday is kind of when we all drive down and load up the truck with the stuff and get and then get set up for Friday, because I don't think there's any Friday event. I think it's just Saturday and Sunday.
Right, yeah, Saturday and Sunday. So is one truck enough for?
Usually one truck, and I have a minivan, so I might have to throw it. We'll see how we do with the truck with letting everything in, and then we'll see if we need to get the minivan involved. So you never know. Cool minivan dad is always ready.
I was gonna say you are minivan dad. So
listen, that's why I'm there, right? There'll be no kids with me, so I'll have room. No booster seats. Don't worry.
Absolutely. All right, thank you so much, my friend. I'm so grateful that you took the time. I'm glad that we had a good sit down. I look forward to seeing you again. I look forward for you to be on again.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Vern. Check out Vern's books on Amazon. And my man he's at Legion's Con. He's at a lot of the big shows, and he's also on Forest. He'll hop on and talk a little trash on Chris or whatever. But give him a hard time. But
someone has to.
Somebody's got to. Yeah, more people need to.
More people need to.
He deserves it. But anyways, thank you, Vern. I appreciate you, man.
Of course, man. Have a good one.
You have a good night, man. Thank you very much.
All right.
Bye.
Remember, friends, to always have fun, be curious, share, and enjoy what this line has to offer. Come for the toys, but stay for the friends. Good night, and thank you very much.